Dear recipients, welcome to one more episode of Senior Growing Young Group presenting a few minutes with Ravi Bade here again. We have with us today Mr. Harish Mysore. A lot of seniors at least know him quite well. He is a green thumb man. ಆಡುಮುಟ್ಟದ ಸೊಪ್ಪಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ನನಗೆ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಬಂತು ಆ ಗಾದೆ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ there isn't a green that a goat won't touch. It's a journey of his life, very versatile. ಹರೀಶ್ ಅವರೇ, ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಒಪ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
ನನಗೆ ಇದೊಂದು ಅನುಭವ ಮತ್ತೆ ಅವಕಾಶ, ತಮಗೂ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
ನೀವು ವಿಧವಾದ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕೈ ಕೆಸರು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಮೇಲೇರಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜೀವನದ ಅನುಭವವನ್ನು ಪಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮೈಸೂರಿಗೆ ಬಂದ್ರಿ. ಹೇಗೆ ಎತ್ತಣ ನಂಜನಗೂಡಿಂದ ಆರಂಭಿಸಿ ಮೈಸೂರಿಗೆ ಬರೋವರೆಗೂ ಚಿಕ್ಕದಾಗಿ ನೀವೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಒಳ್ಳೇದು. Because if I start, it will become like a readout. I would like to hear it from your own voice.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ರವಿ. ನಾನು 72ರ ಹರಿಯದ ಹುಡುಗ. ಯಾತಕ್ಕೆ ಹುಡುಗ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂದರೆ, ವಯಸ್ಸು ಬರೀ ಒಂದು ಸಂಖ್ಯೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಮನಸ್ಸು, ಹೃದಯ ಅದರೊಳಗೆ ಚೈತನ್ಯ ತುಂಬಿದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಇನ್ನೂ ಹುಡುಗರೆ, ಯುವಕರೇ.
ಒಳ್ಳೆ ನುಡಿಮತ್ತಿಂದ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಸರ್. ವೆರಿ ನೈಸ್.
ಸೊ ನಾನು ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ನಂಜನಗೂಡಲ್ಲಿ. ಸುಮಾರು 5-6 ವರ್ಷ ಆಗುವ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲೇ ನಮ್ಮ ತಂದೆಯವರಿಗೆ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿಗೆ ವರ್ಗಾವಣೆ ಆಯಿತು. ಅವರು ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಸಿಟಿ ಬೋರ್ಡಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದ ಕಾರಣ ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರಿಂಗುವರೆಗೂ ಅಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ವ್ಯಾಸಂಗ ಆಯಿತು. ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನಿಕ್ಸ್ ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರ್ ನಾನು. ಒಂದು 10-12 ವರ್ಷಗಳ ಕಾಲ ಉದ್ಯೋಗ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಲೈನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಒಂದು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಐ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಡ್ ಅ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರುಮೆಂಟೇಷನ್, ಇನ್ ದ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಏರೋಸ್ಪೇಸ್, ಏರೋನಾಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡಿಫೆನ್ಸ್. Whatever contacts I developed, that was my basic capital, and I utilized that capital asset to my advantage in trying to switch over from an employee to a self-employed person. Within 3 months, I was almost self-reliant, and I started earning on my own. So that paved a very big way financially as well as professionally. I could garner various contracts both nationally and internationally.
ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ. ನಂಜನಗೂಡು ಮೈಸೂರು ಸೀಮೆ ಕನ್ನಡ ನೀವು ಮರ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಇನ್ನು ತೊಡಗಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಪದಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ತುಂಬ ಕೇಳಿ ಸಂತೋಷ ಆಯಿತು. ಸೊ ಈ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು, ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಈಸಿ ಟು ಸ್ವಿಚ್ ಓವರ್ ಇನ್ 3 months. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಂಪ್ಟೆಡ್ ಯು? ಡಿಡ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಬ್ಲಾಡ್ ಇನ್ ಯುವರ್ ಲೀನಿಯೇಜ್ ಆರ್?
ನಮ್ಮ ಇದರೊಳಗೆ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿಯೊಳಗೆ ಯಾರು ಆ ಥರ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ತೊಡಗಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಇನ್ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ನಾನೇ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಜನರೇಷನ್ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಎಂಟರ್ಪ್ರಿನರ್ಶಿಪ್ ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು. ಸೊ ಅದೇ ಕೆಲವರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ನನ್ನ ಗುಂಡಿಗೆ ಭಾಳ ಗಟ್ಟಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಅದು ಪ್ರಾಬಬಲಿ ಅದು ಹುಟ್ಟಿನಿಂದ ಬಂದಿರೋ ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಗುಣ. ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು ಭಾಳ ಒಂದು ಉತ್ತೇಜನಕರವಾಗಿ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿಯೇ ನಡೀತು. ಅದರೊಳಗೆ ನಾನು ಎದುರು ನೋಡಿದಷ್ಟು ಸಂಪಾದನೆನೂ ಆಯಿತು. ಯಾವಾಗ ಸಂಪಾದನೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಯಿತೋ ಅದನ್ನು ಏನು ಮಾಡೋದೊಂದು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬಂತು. ಆಗಿನ ಒಂದು ಕಾಲಘಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೇಜರ್ ಥ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ಏರಿಯಾಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕೆಲವ್ರನ್ನ ಡಿಕ್ಲೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಈ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಹಾಗೆ ಅದು ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಡೈಮಂಡ್ ಜ್ಯುವೆಲರಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ದ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ದೋಸ್ ಡೇಸ್ ವರ್ ದ ಲೆದರ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ಎಲ್ಸ್ವೇರ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಗ್ಲೋಬ್ ವರ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಫೇಸ್ಡ್ ಔಟ್, and they were being given a big fillip in India. Availability of leather and cheaper labor, the process possibilities, all these put together. So that prompted me to think of getting into leather activity. So I started off with making leather garments for export. The quality as well as the best price the German market was offering. So I just identified that situation and wanted to develop my activity in Germany. We made various samples, and I started going to Germany just and develop the market for our garment activity. After first initial orders, I set up the unit. But we were buying finished leather and we made garments. In fact, it started as a small home cottage industry. And then after I captured the initial market from Germany, I came and established a small manufacturing facility, and it worked very well, and we reached a situation where we were finding it difficult to absorb the orders which were flowing from Germany. Very soon we reached a situation where we were required to one, become competent price wise, second, ensure the quality is of a particular order as expected in the market, and time was the essence of the whole game. So to take care of all this, we went for a backward integration. That is, we wanted to produce our own leather. So when we went for that backward integration, it was quite a massive project where we had to import a lot of machinery from Italy and also buy so many local machinery here. We bought land in between Chennai and Bangalore in a place known as Vaniyambadi. That is incidentally the leather belt where a lot of tanneries and finishing units are there. In fact, those days I was probably one of the forerunners to establish a venture capital funding. With that, we were very successful in establishing our own facilities to produce our own leather. And in the process, we also established quite a bit of activity with even certain companies in Spain, in UK, in Germany for exporting leather itself, in addition to supplying the finished product as leather garments. So all these things concurrently happened, and we were also one of the 39 identified companies in India. They gave us special status of dual citizenship at Netherlands, and they were prepared to offer education for our children. It was a gateway for Europe for doing marketing operations.
By this time, did you join hands with partnership, or you were alone?
It was mostly in my individual capacity to start with, and then I had to convert it into a private limited company because there were a lot of financial implications and we were required to generate a lot of funding, and I had to give it a shape and color of a company. Ultimate view that it will be converted to a public limited company. So these are all the facets of the company when it started. And suddenly there were certain developments which created a big sort of a storm in the whole game. Tannery produces a lot of hazardous chemicals, which are residues which they were leaving sometimes into the ground, sometimes they were being treated, sometimes half treated. And that was resulting in pollution of groundwater as well as the entire the agricultural products which were being produced in those belts those days. So this situation was going on, and it increased with the passage of time. It caught the attention of various people, and it had to definitely catch attention sooner or later, and it did happen. Public interest litigations were raised, and it went on for years at various courts, and finally the Supreme Court gave a directive that we are giving so much of time, and if within that period if these effluents are not treated, we are closing down the tanneries. It was a game which was not practically feasible for all entrepreneurs like us to do it in our individual capacity. But there were already also solutions where things were being done on a cooperative basis. And we were part of that, one of the cooperative things where the state government, central government, and financial institution and the entrepreneur, these four people were involved in setting up the common effluent treatment plant. But that did not get into action because the state government did not properly perform. So the time limits given by Supreme Court were over, and finally I myself went and put a lock for our own unit and handed over the key to the institutions. So that was the end of Solomon Grandi.
Oh, okay.
So thereafter, of course, fortunately, I never gave up my activity in the electronics line, whatever marketing I was doing in my individual capacity. That was earning on one side and feeding this unit and the investments required. We made huge investments. And I was required to educate my children, and that was also going on. So with all this, you call it Samudra Manthana in Kannada. So we were producing Amruta as well as Hala Hala. So once these units had to be sealed and closed, it left me with a big void and a challenge. Looking at my prosperity and growth, there were a lot of people, both relatives and friends, who had invested in my leather activity. Of course, it was in a private limited company, and legally I was not required to repay, but it became such a moral responsibility and feeling at my end that I took the responsibility of returning all the money invested by everybody, which I did slowly over a period of next 10 years. In the process, I earned a lot of goodwill from various people, and of course a lot of exposure, activities, business practices, and working with so many institutions. So it gave me a wonderful opportunity. In all these I could educate my children and put them in a reasonably good way in the international scene, and they are on their own.
So on this boom and bust that you experienced on the leather side, could you foresee any part of that becoming an environmental issue, so a financial risk? Would you have done something differently if you were given a chance to go back?
Well, being a first level entrepreneur, I do not know really whether I would have done something, but now if I look back, probably I would have done very well and better and much more happier, and given bigger contributions to nature and the society if I had probably gone in the agricultural line or farming line right from the beginning, with a proper education and exposure in that direction. Because I had a flair for that right from childhood.
ಸೊ ಈಗ ಮೈಸೂರಿಗೆ ಮರಳಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಯಾವಾಗ ಹೇಗೆ ಬಂದಾಯ್ತು, ಅಥವಾ ಇದು ರೈತನ ಅವತಾರ ಹೊತ್ಕೊಂಡೆ ಬರೋ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದ್ರ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಕ್ ಫಾರ್ಮಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ?
ಇದು ಚಿಕ್ಕಂದಿಂದಲೂ ಐ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಎ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ plants and gardening, whether it's flowers or growing fruit plants or trees. ನಾನು ಚಿಕ್ಕಂದಲ್ಲಿ ನಂಜನಗೂಡಿಗೆ ಹಾಲಿಡೇಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಅಜ್ಜಿ ಮನೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾಗ. ಆವಾಗಲೇ ನಾನು ಲಾಲ್ಬಾಗಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗ್ರಾಫ್ಟೆಡ್ ಸಸಿಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ತಗೊಂಡು ಮಾವು, ಸಾಲ್ ಹಲಸು, ಸಪೋಟ ಇವುಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ತಂದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಂಜನಗೂಡಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನ ನೆಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಆವಾಗಲೇ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಹಮ್ಮಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಸೊ ಆ ಒಂದು ಹವ್ಯಾಸ ಚಿಕ್ಕಂದಲ್ಲೇ ಅದೊಂದು ರೂಢಿಯಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಅದು ಅವಕಾಶ ಸಿಕ್ಕದಾಗೆಲ್ಲನೂ ಅದರ ಕಡೆ ಒಲವು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ ಇತ್ತು, ನಾನು ತೋರ್ತಾನೆ ಇದ್ದೆ. ಆಗಾಗ ಒಂದು ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಸ್ಪರ್ಟಿಂಗ್, ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸೇ ಇಟ್ ವಾಸ್ ಇನ್ ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ವಾಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನಿಂಗ್. But I did not.
The leather industry is a really black spot, a contrast to all this childhood natural inclinations.
So probably that was not identified fully and blow it to the full scale and size. If it had been done, probably my profession itself would have been different. But no regrets. But at least I had the opportunity to get back to that passion a little later in my life, and I'm quite happy about it. If only I had bought lands with all the money which I blew up in leather, I do not know where I would have been today. So it's okay.
So what are all the activities related to farming you are engaged now?
In Bangalore, we started off with terrace gardening. It was some 2,600 square feet of terrace, where we were growing to start with roses and hibiscus mainly, and all other flowers, and to some extent vegetables.
Is it part of your own household establishment, or
it was household? Okay. It was purely my personal individual house. So there, both on the ground level and at terrace level, we had 250 varieties of roses.
Wow.
And 100 varieties of hibiscus. We were preparing roses particularly for Independence Day as well as a New Year Day. And we used to keep these buckets full of flowers.
Gulabi ತೋಟದೊಳಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮನೆ ಇತ್ತು?
ಹೌದು. In fact, my wife was being nicknamed as Gulabi Amma and Daswadamma. Because we used to give a lot of flowers to the nearby temples on a regular basis. ಗುಲಾಬಿ ಅಮ್ಮ ಅಂಡ್ ದಾಸವಾಳದಮ್ಮ.
ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮೈಸೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಹೂವು, ಹಣ್ಣು, ತರಕಾರಿ ಬೆಳೆ ಎಲ್ಲ?
ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಒಂದು ತೋಟ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಮೈಸೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ, ಅರ್ಬನ್ ಗಾರ್ಡನ್, ಟೋಟಲಿಗೆ ಅಬೌಟ್ 14,000 square feet ಹಿಯರ್ ಇನ್ ರಿಂಗ್ ರೋಡ್. ವಿ ಶಿಫ್ಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಮೈಸೂರ್ ಇನ್ 2018 March. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಡನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಗಾರ್ಡನ್ basically to develop all types of fruit trees. And we were growing vegetables to a large extent all these days. And now the trees, as they are growing up, we are not getting enough sunlight. So we are slowly phasing out the vegetable production, but the fruit production is increasing regularly. We started getting bananas and papayas a long back, and we were even making some small supplies here within Sankalp quite some time back. During COVID time and all that we. So in addition to this, there have been number of requests from other people who are in the farming community in and around Mysore. So I had an opportunity to get myself involved in a 10-acre farm at a place known as Banikuppe. That is just before
Madikeriga hogo rastalla.
Howdu. Just before Hunsur. So that's a farm which I started totally from scratch and planned it fully. And now it's almost nearing 2 years, and we are getting good yield of vegetables as well as fruits, to start with banana, papayas, guavas, water apple, rose apple, chickus, all types of citrus fruits, and mangoes. The whole objective
organic
is
idella?
100% organic. We are having our own cows here,
Hmm.
and we have created facility to generate our own plant nutrition through this output of whatever cows we are getting, the cow dung, cow urine and all that. And we are generating our own vermicompost facility within the farm. So it is taking shape very well, and it is capable of generating high revenues in the years to come.
ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ?
Market aspect, we are trying to develop it from producer to user concept. We are, to start with, we are addressing major apartments, and we have planned our production of fruits in such
Your
a
own
way.
distribution to the kitchens?
We will be direct
Not
distribution.
even retail? Direct.
No retail. Retail means the end user. The end user will get good products at reasonable prices, and we have everything under our control with respect to the production, either quality or quantity, and the varieties. The consumer gets a good product at a reasonable price.
You split the middleman as well as the time.
Yes.
It reaches fresh.
Yes.
That's
We are trying to reduce the time between the harvest and the delivery. Train our own workforce and the team to get attuned
ಇದೆಲ್ಲ
to.
ಯಾರ ಜೊತೆ ಸೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ?
Well, the planning is done totally by me, but it is for an NGO, and the NGO is a trust managed by an individual right now by name Mr. Raghavendra Rao, who is a tax consultant and advocate at Bombay. He has been involved in a lot of philanthropic activities all over the country. He's basically from Mysore, but professionally he's been settled in Mumbai.
Yeah, birds of the same feather.
I felt it's good to get associated with such people, and he has given me responsibility for the greening of the entire farm. So it's a total free hand, and he comes once in 3 weeks, 4 weeks from Bombay, spends the time, we discuss things. And
ಹರೀಶ್, ಒಂದು ಸೆನ್ಸಿಟಿವ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ
ಹೇಳಿ.
ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮವಾಗಿದೆ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆರೋಗ್ಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. ಯು ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಥ್ರೈಸ್ ಎ ವೀಕ್ ಫಾರ್ ಡಯಾಲಿಸಿಸ್.
yes,
and it's quite in your 70s, this is quite a complication. How do you get time and energy? How do you compartmentalize this ongoing physical thing, and but you keep the spirit to do something at large scale like this?
ನಾನು ನಿಮಗೆ ಮಾತಿನ ಮುಂಚೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದಾಗಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದೆ, ನನಗೆ ಗುಂಡಿಗೆ ದೊಡ್ಡದಿದೆ ಅಂತ. ಅದು ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕೀಪಿಂಗ್ ಮೀ as the major driving force.
Okay.
And I am sure it will continue to happen. Few issues which I have fitness or health wise, okay, I can't do anything about it. But I still have certain virtues, certain qualities in me which I can put it to use. And there are people to recognize that and appreciate it. And in the process I am able to give something to the society. So I always look forward with a positive attitude and positive approach. So that is the driving force in me.
And blood group B positive, huh?
Yes, you are right.
ಸರಿ, ಈಗ ಒಂದು ಕನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್. ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಮತ್ತೆ ಭಾರತ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಇಬ್ರು ಸೇರಿ ಯುನೈಟೆಡ್ ನೇಷನ್ಸ್ಗೆ, one of the United Nations body did declare already this year 2023 as International Year of Millets.
ಹೌದು,
ಇದು ಆಗ್ಲೇ ಮುಗಿತಾ ಬಂತು. ನೀವು ರೈತರಾಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಈಗ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಿಲೆಟ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ ಏನು? ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇದು ನಾವು ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಷ್ಟು ಯಶಸ್ವಿ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಇಯರ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಿಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ?
ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಬೀಜ ಬಿತ್ತಾಗಿದೆ, ಈಗ ಅದು ಬೆಳೆಯೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಆಗಿದೆ. ಅದರೊಳಗೆ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಅನುಕೂಲಗಳು, ಆರೋಗ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದಾಗಿರೋ ಸಂಗತಿಗಳಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಅದು ಖಂಡಿತ ಬೆಳೆದು ಹೆಮ್ಮರ ಆಗೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆಗಳು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ
good for environment also.
Very good for environment. It is rich in fiber, rich in human nutrition requirements, and then it does not require as much of water as your wheat and rice require.
ಹೊಲದಲ್ಲೂ ಬೆಳೆಬಹುದು.
So as a dry crop it can be grown. And there are very tasty millets like ragi is also one of the millet. You have foxtail millet, you have little millet. I am sure it is catching up in a big way, and it is got a good and big future.
Thanks a lot, Harish.
ತಮಗೂ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು, ನನಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು 4 ಮಾತುಗಳಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ.
Dear recipients, thank you very much. We'll see you sometime later. Goodbye for now from Ravi.